It is what it is. Hey, welcome to the show today, 5 at 5 Live. We're going to have a little bit of fun. There's some very interesting things that we're going to be talking about tonight, at least interesting to me. And I want to say something before we get too far along here, folks. We've had a great opportunity to be in front of a lot of people and enjoy a lot of new friends as a result of doing the show. And you know, we use the medium Facebook as a delivery vehicle for folks to watch and listen. Well, Facebook has a thing called groups, and if you're into Facebook at all, you realize that you join groups, and then if you've got important things of interest, then you share them with groups that you're involved in. Well, consequently, we did that, and Facebook has put a hold on us to be able to do that. So here's what I'm doing. I'm asking you guys out there that are watching, that watch future shows and watch past shows, to share them on your pages, to share them on your groups, and help us grow this thing, because Facebook certainly has, they put a bit of a hold on what we're trying to do in terms of reaching people. So if that's okay, I'd like you to help us out. That being said, there's somebody that I want to talk about here for just a second. Grim Reaper came on with us. You guys know that. Grim Reaper came on as a sponsor, and we're really, really happy to have him. Well, they've got 2 new retailers, folks, that you should be aware of. And they've got retailers all over, but they want us to bring attention to Smokey's Muskie Bait and Tackle over in Pewaukee, and McFly Outdoors in Morgantown, West Virginia. If you're interested in participating with their products in your stores, your outlets, you can get a hold of them. The phone number's there at the bottom. And please give them a shout and see if they can help you guys out, because that's what it's all about. Like I said, there are a lot of things that happen in our world, and some of them happen for a reason, and some of them happen because you worked really doggone hard to get there. I had Christian Corley. You guys probably don't know the name, but he's with YOLOtech. Now, if you guys are into videoing your captures on the water for personal use or even professional use for that matter, YOLOtech's got some really cool products. You need to check them out. YOLOtech.com and see what they got to offer you. But that being said, Christian focused on a couple of questions that we're going to be talking about later on in the show with one of our guests. But he asked this morning, he says, Bob, what is your personal best? And, you know, I got to tell you something, folks. This fish was monumental. So if you would, please just sit back and enjoy my personal best. And remember, these fish still swim today, so you can enjoy them. So that being said, just sit back here and watch what we've got going for you, because quite frankly, it is spectacular.
There you go, Bob. Big fish, Bobby.
Yeah.
Real big fish. That's a monster.
Yeah, he's taking line.
Look at that.
Yeah, you're gonna need a net.
Take your time, Bobby. I'm gonna get everything out of the way. You want me on the motor at all?
Nope.
That's...
Johnny?
Go for it.
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh, Bob, that is the biggest fish I've seen. Here we go.
keep my, woo! Johnny, another 50 plus. Hang tight, hang tight, hang tight, hang tight. Mike, go leave him in the water. Yeah, there you go, he's off. I gotta quit shaking. I gotta quit shaking. This is a big fish. I don't believe we duplicated last year. This is a monster fish. Let me hit my free spool. I'm just shaking. I'm just shaking.
I'm feeling good.
I'm just shaking.
Take your time, Bob.
When she ate it, I just thought, oh my God, I'm gonna lose her.
Nice and easy.
Let's go this way, and we're gonna come into the boat. Let me get hook outs are out, so that's fine.
Let's go right over the console here. You stand on that side, I'll stand on this side.
No, here, I'm gonna double net it. I'm gonna double hand it. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. God. This fish is at least 40 pounds. At least 40.
Nice and easy now.
Don't jerk it, don't jerk it. You jerk it, then my hands are in the way. Oh, hang on, hang on, hang on. Hang on.
You hold that side.
Its teeth in there is pretty big. I can't see nothing, John. No, 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 no. See, this has got to come out first.
Like this?
No. I'm just shaking.
Yeah, you both. There you go. Wait, the line's right there. There you go.
This fish is easy 40 pounds. This is an absolute pig fish. This fish right here is 56 inches long. We just measured her in the bottom of the boat. I gotta put her back.
Release her, let her go, Bobby. That's a king of the freshwater. Right there. No better. Work her nice and slow.
Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this. Oh, come on, babe.
Hold her belly up just a little bit, Bob.
Come on, babe.
There you go.
56 inches. Oh.
I thought those fish last year were a fish of a lifetime, Bobby. I think this one outdoes it.
This one does it. Oh, she's starting to get power.
Yeah.
I can feel her. This is an absolute gorgeous fish. Johnny, this is why we put big fish back, right?
Absolutely. Those 40 and 45 inches you put back?
Yeah.
If you keep taking those fish out of the resource, you'll never get another fish this big.
Now, fish this old, I mean, this big has got to be 35, 38 years.
Yeah. Well over 20 years. Well over 20 years. And it's in its prime, too. As the fish gets older, it'll start to lose a little weight and a little girth. But right now, she's at the peak of her life.
Look at this fish, would you?
She's an eating machine.
Look at that.
She's in good shape,
I tell you, we stuck 2 40-pounders last year. This fish right here is pushing 50 pounds. There's no doubt in my mind at all.
It's real close. 56 inches and a 25-inch girth.
25 and a half.
We'll have to measure that one up when we're back at breakfast. And this is before breakfast. 2 fish before breakfast.
Come on, babe. I want you to swim. Get going. It'll take her a couple minutes.
She's sitting up pretty straight, so she'll be okay. Just nice and easy.
She's not gonna dart away like the little fish. So I'm just gonna let her go. Okay, what do you think?
Just send her off in the right direction. Just let her swim. She'll be okay. Yeah, there she is. You get the idea. She's okay.
Folks, I'm telling you, that is a monster fish right there you're looking at. I want her to swim. She's breathing fine. She just went through a pretty good trauma here.
Well, it's not often she's been on a hook and a line.
Oh, I don't know what to say. This is great. This really is. This is absolutely great. When she ate that thing out there, I just went, oh no!
As soon as I saw it, I knew it was just a monster.
Oh. Okay, she's really starting to come around.
Yeah, she's in a safe spot too. The plant and stuff will be putting out a lot of oxygen. Once she gets a little bit of steam, she'll go down, get in cooler water, lots of water.
Is that great? Hey, Mark.
Sit pretty.
Johnny, whoa!
I gotta shake his hand.
Hey, folks, it's been a pleasure to fish with John Schneider, Dr. John Schneider, and it's been a pleasure to have you folks watch us take. Oh, that's the biggest fish of my life. 56 inches, 25.5-inch girth. Listen, thanks for watching Thunder on the Water. We'll catch you folks right here next week, and we take you fishing someplace else in God's green country for trophy fish like that. Johnny, I don't know what to say. This is it. This is really it. Let's see if she'll swim.
Scream a little bit more. That would be fun. Let's work her back and forth down here.
This is a pig.
That's the biggest fish I've seen, Bubby.
Johnny, this fish is 40 plus. Easy.
Oh, it's got a bigger than that.
That's it. That's the moves I wanted.
See, baby.
Touched the 50 pounder there, Johnny.
That's right. That's what I wanted to do. Look. That's about what we saw that night.
Yeah.
She's
okay.
Great.
She's gone. She's perfect. Oh, dynamite. I don't know how to... Oh, it's 9 o'clock. It's breakfast time. It's showtime. It's Ron and Google time.
I'm going to go have a beer at 9 o'clock. I don't believe it.
Well, I'm here to tell you, if that doesn't put a smile on your face, nothing's going to put a smile on your face, folks. That's what it's all about. I can remember every single detail about that fish. I can remember the water temps. I can remember the oxygen levels. I can remember all those elements that we always paid close attention to in every day of fishing, in our early days especially, all the way up to now. I tell you what, if we want to break down that fish in the future, if we want to talk about that fish going forward, we'll bring that fish back into the show, and we'll break down the elements that brought us to that. That was one of my world record release fish, and I can't tell you how exciting it was. So when Christian Corley asked that question, that is the most exciting, one of the most exciting times of my life. That being said, folks, there is a young lady. She's over in Ohio. Now, I got news for you. You take a look at this, all right? This is Sharon Potvin, and her husband Maurice, I believe, is a guide over in Ohio. And they put it together, folks. This is a Ohio 50-inch class muskie. Now, we've been asking for pictures from you folks out there. Muskie fishing is in full swing in a lot of places. It's just coming into swing here now in Minnesota. So we're starting to see a little bit more attention to the muskie fishermen. We're heading out ourselves this week to give it a shot. I know some of the Wisconsin guys up in northern Wisconsin are starting to catch some fish, although I'm not hearing a lot about big fish. But nonetheless, that 50-inch Ohio fish is a dandy. Hey, folks, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Hi, everyone. Bob Mehsikomer here. Don't let your lack of success be the death of your fishing. Check out Grim Reaper Lures, spinnerbaits, and bucktails. Call them at 610-593-2492 or look them up on the internet at grimreaperlures.com. Hi everyone, Bob Mehsikomer here. Hey, I got a question. What's the hottest thing in your boat during prime muskie conditions? If you're like me, it's Grant Big Dog Rods. Talk to the big dog himself. Call him at 847-577-0848. All right, we're going to call up our first guest right now, and we're going to get him on the phone. We're going to talk what he's got to talk about, and I tell you, this guy has got some interesting stuff. Is this Mike?
Yeah, how's it going, Bob?
Hi, Michael. Bob Mehsikomer at 5 at 5 Live. Man, good to have you on the show tonight. Say, you have some very interesting shots, and you may not even know why. That I look at them and consider they're so interesting. So we're going to break down some of that, if you don't mind. So why don't you give us a little backdrop on who you are, what you do, and some of the things you enjoy doing on the water. You are from down in Tennessee, so you have access to some very big fish, in a variety of them, I might add. But I think your strength is in bass fishing. Am I correct?
Yes, I'm a bass fisherman by nature. That's really all I target for the most part.
What are some of your your favorite techniques?
I'm a big jig angler. I love to throw a jig. I have some custom jigs by one of my sponsors that makes some great jigs for me. I love throwing spinner bait, vibrating jigs, crankbait. There's really not much that I don't like to do, that I don't enjoy doing, but my strength is definitely a jig.
Well, like I said when we started this conversation, there are telling things in photographs, and you sent us some remarkable shots because there is so much information in your pictures. I don't know if you pick up on this or not. Being you're from Tennessee, unlike us in Minnesota, our waters don't fluctuate great depths. You're down on the reservoirs where they do, and you're fishing different periods of the year. Therefore, when you're taking your pictures, you get different landscapes. Oh my goodness, what value are those pictures to you?
So you're right. The water depth change is phenomenal here. Cherokee Lake and Douglas Lake can fluctuate between 20 and 30 feet in the winter. And one of the great things about the way I photograph my fish catches, I don't like to hide anything from anybody. I show what I caught them on. And the cool thing about my photos is I'm able to go back, okay, this photo was taken in January when the water was 20 feet low. Now it's the summertime, we're at full pool. I know what I'm fishing now because I know where that rock is that was above the water that we're actually able to target now underwater. And we know those smallmouth and largemouth are going to sit there and really hone in on those spots. And we're able to target them a lot easier because we do take such detailed notes about where we are, what we're fishing, and why we're going to fish it.
That's an amazing advantage, and to pick up on that and to be able to perform going forward your duties of catching these fish, target specific stuff. I'm looking at a picture right now with you with a very nice bass, and behind you is one of the structures that are very common down there, and they hold enormously big fish, floating docks, covered canopy floating docks.
Yep, we have a lot of those because the water does fluctuate as much as it is. We aren't able to have the traditional wooden docks like on Chickamauga and Watts Bar, far south on Okeechobee in Florida and stuff like that. So we have to really target those floating docks, and it's something that I'm from Florida, and I was always used to the Florida fishing of the wooden docks. Adjusting to the floating docks isn't something easy to do, but it's a lot of fun, and you're right, it does hold a lot of big fish under there because the black floats attract so much heat under those, and a lot of them are metal, and that metal heats up a lot more. So when they're transitioning from the cool weather into the warm weather like we are right now, they're just a magnet for big bass right now.
Yeah, I got to be perfectly honest with you. We pay attention to the granite in the waters that we fish that radiate temperatures into the lake. I never thought about a dock, the black. I mean, that's pretty interesting because, quite frankly, you could pick up a degree, maybe 2 degrees around that dock, and that's huge to that fish.
Absolutely. Fish are cold-blooded, and the slightest temperature change really throws them off. And that's why when the water temperature drops from 65 just even down to 63, 62, sometimes they get a little bit of a shock here. But when you can find a creek influx or a rain influx, especially right there with a metal dock, it heats them up instantly. And it's even better when you've got rock right underneath it because our lakes are extremely rocky. And those metal docks are floating right above that rock, and it's just a perfect ball of heat for them in a nice little 20-foot by 20-foot section a lot of the time. And you've just got to be able to hit that perfectly, but they'll be sitting there waiting for you.
Yeah, and there's times you're going to draw the biggest of the big into those prime areas. That is very interesting. I find that to be captivating myself.
Thank you.
That being said, let's run down some of the stuff that Mike likes to fish, how he likes to fish, and maybe a trick or two or a tip or two that somebody that is fishing the north waters all the way down to the southern waters might be able to take to the water with them. You got anything for us?
Yeah, so one of the big things that here recently with it being pre-spawn, well, we've got all 3 stages of spawn right now. We've got pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn fish on both Cherokee Lake and Douglas Lake. One thing that gets overlooked a lot of the time, everybody wants to go after these bed fish, and they want to do it very aggressively. They want to use all these bright fluorescent orange, fluorescent pink, white. They want to be able to see their bait so they can watch the bite themselves.
Yeah.
thing that I learned on Lake Chickamauga a few weekends ago, actually, with Garmin Pro John Murray, was to go a little more subtle. So I'm actually throwing a green pumpkin X-Zone lure center stick. It's a 5-inch stick bait, and I keep it very natural, very subtle, and they actually bite on it more because it's not as intrusive to them. And if you put just a little bit of chartreuse on that tail, most people like to do that anyway, but that gives your eyes something to keen in on that you can see it, but it's still not going to be too intrusive onto those bass when they're on the bed. And usually 2 or 3 casts, and they really lock into that 5-inch center stick.
Interesting. As Cherokee, does that have the Florida strain fish in it too, or are they all just native?
No, Cherokee and Douglas are all native fish. The only lakes with the Florida strain here in Tennessee are Chickamauga, Watts Bar, Tellico, and Loudon that I know of.
And I'll bet they're getting fish too.
Oh man, Chickamauga is just yeah, it's crazy down there. It's back tournaments. People are in there like crazy. It's wild down there, that's for sure.
I just picked up on one of your shots now. You're holding a nice fish. It's a smallmouth, and behind you looks to be what a friend of mine would call an inlet or a channel going back in there, and it looks to be a pretty good spring spot.
Yes. So that photo is actually from February. We had a tremendous amount of rain, and that was when I decided I was going to start YouTubing and I was going to start filming. And that was my very first video, my very first time ever filming. And we had just a tremendous amount of rain for 4 or 5 days. And when I went to the lake, I was like, this isn't going to be good. It's going to be a terrible shot. I might as well just scrap all of this. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, if I can find a freshwater influx somewhere, it could be pushing out that dirty water, and I might be able to make something happen there. So I'm actually fishing it's a creek channel arm swing. And it just so happened that the water was pushing enough fresh water in that the fresh water met the mud water and created a mud line right on the creek channel arm swing.
And those fish will use it.
Oh, they were. I was throwing a Lick Creek Custom Lure spinnerbait and an Alabama rig, and they were just obliterating it. I had 20 pounds in about 45 minutes to an hour.
Wow, that's a good bite.
Yes, it was a phenomenal bite, especially for Cherokee.
Do you guys do you do much down there on topwater?
Not yet. It's just now getting hot.
It is.
A lot of the time, first thing in the morning, especially during the shad spawn. We've got the shad spawn. It's starting right about now in some spots of the lake, mostly up in the rivers, a little bit mid-lake. I personally throw a lot of walking bait, a popper every now and then. The Whopper plopper has become a huge deal ever since it came out, and it's no longer just for massive muskie and everything. They're targeting massive bass. And when it first came out, I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Like that's not going to do anything. And the very first fish I caught on a Whopper plopper was 4.5 pounds. I'm like, all right, boys, I understand now.
So you're catching on to those bigger fish, bigger baits.
Yeah, I'm always under the thought process of, well, it doesn't, if I throw a 12-inch glide bait or a 12-inch swim bait, it's not going to matter. I can catch a 6-7 pound bass on a jig as easily as I can that big old glide bait. So why would I do it? It's so much more difficult to throw. But it's something else when you get those big baits going. It's a different kind of bite and it's a different style of fishing.
Yeah, it's pretty rewarding. Those no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It's very rewarding. But
yes,
let me run down a little bit. You do spinnerbaits, jigs, vibrating jigs. You finesse. You're throwing swim baits, crankbaits, round lip or flat lip or square lipped.
Majority of the time it's going to be a round lip. I will throw the square lip only when I'm around heavy wood.
Heavy wood.
The square, really, it's a 4x4. It's an all-wheel drive crankbait, and I'll throw it around wood. time I throw it.
I I like that 4-wheel drive crankbait. Oh, goodness gracious. Hey, listen, Hunter, Mike, I hope we had a little bit of fun here today. There's so much more we could share, and as we get more accustomed to what we're doing on this program, we will share more information. We'll do some phone interviews ahead of time. What people don't realize is this is the first time you and I have talked. So you're listening to a live conversation as it would take part with just two anglers that are just having fun. And as we get more and more involved with people, get to know them better, we'll dig into their sack of tricks and we'll get some out. You want to share some of those with us in the future?
Absolutely, I'd be more than happy to.
No, you don't.
I'll be honest. That's the whole reason why I started my YouTube channel, because I'm not the type of angler. I'm not going to hide anything from anybody. I will share every little detail about everything, because there's plenty of fish out there to be caught.
Absolutely.
There's plenty for us to share. So.
Yeah, and you're blessed. You're on big bodies of water. You know, Casey and I were up here locally on Memorial Day, which was wow. It was, you take your life in your own hands. There were so many of these big wave maker boats out there. I mean, we had absolutely zero wind, and we had 4-foot rollers, 3-foot rollers coming from every direction continuously. We spent about 3-4 hours on the lake, and I called a friend of mine who was on the show a couple of weeks ago. I said, Travis, we're going to run up to Mille Lacs Lake and play around a little bit. What can you tell me? And we drove 129 miles to get to a water without a wave maker on it.
Oh, my God. You know, I really blessed where we are, because I'm 1 hour away from Cherokee Lake, Douglas Lake, South Holston Lake, Watauga Lake, Norris Lake, Fort Loudon, and Tellico. We are perfectly centered here that we can always go anywhere we want, and we can get away from all the traffic. It's truly a special place to be in Northeast Tennessee for bass fishing.
Yeah, it really is. And Tennessee's got some muskies in it too down there. It's not exactly a bad piece of real estate when you really come to think about it. Hey, listen, thanks for sharing with us. I appreciate it, Mike. I loved seeing your pictures, like I said, with those shoreline structures and elements on it, because that's where you learn. And when you can take advantage of that, it's key. You did say that you're shooting some video and stuff. Feel free to share some of your videos with us, and we'll get them on the show. How's that sound?
Absolutely. I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, tell you what, young man, it's been our pleasure. We'll see you down the road.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Take care.
Thanks, Mike. Be right back, folks. Hi, everyone. Bob Mehsikomer here. Hey, got a question. What's the hottest thing in your boat during prime muskie conditions? If you're like me, it's Grant Big Dog Rods. Talk to the big dog himself. Call him at 847-577-0848. Don't let your lack of success be the death of your fishing. Check out Grim Reaper Lures, spinnerbaits, and bucktails. Call them at 610-593-2492 or look them up on the internet at grimreaperlures.com. All right, I got a special guest coming up for you. I'm going to dial his number right now. He's going to be on, let's go this way. We'll do this one. And I'm going to dial him up. We're going to get him on. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this gentleman before we go.
Hello.
How you doing, Hunter?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing really well. Before we get involved, Hunter, let me tell a little story, if you don't mind. I fished the Bass Federation in Minnesota back in the 70s, and all the way up to the State Federation Championship. And I had the pleasure, and when I say the pleasure, I had the pleasure of meeting many people, but two people in particular. And both of those people were ridden with the same issue you are, which we're going to talk about in a second. Because what I found about those guys, and I'm certain, just looking at what you're doing and how you've gotten to where you are, I'm certain you carry the same kind of motivation that they do. And these folks, what people don't realize is when you have everything at your disposal, when everything works and you walk to your boat and you jump in the boat and you go do your thing, how special and privileged you really are. Because not everybody has that. it's a little different situation. Folks, we're talking to Hunter Bogman, okay? And I'm going to show you an image. Hunter's not capable of seeing what we have, so I'm going to explain where we're going here. Hunter sent us a picture that I want you to realize what's going on. Hunter's a double amputee. Folks, now, like I said, when you have all of your limbs and when you have all of your faculties with you, it's a different fishing experience than it is with somebody in Hunter's position. Hunter, give us a little backdrop, because you have done some remarkable things, and my hat's off to you, young man.
Well, I appreciate it very much. Just a little history on me. I had bacterial meningitis when I was 9 months old. So really, it's all I've ever known. I lost both legs below the knee. I lost all my fingers on my left hand and partial fingers on the right. Just blessed to be here. Had 113-degree fever. Doctor said I wouldn't make it. If I would make it, I would be a vegetable. So the good Lord and some really good doctors took care of me on that one for sure.
Boy, I guess, yeah, 113. That's the highest temperature I've ever heard in anybody. That is amazing. Well, tell us a little bit about your fishing, what you're doing, how you're dealing with it, some of your favorite techniques, and I know we're going to show a picture here down the line. You are a competitive bass fisherman too, not just a weekend, Joe Six-Packer. You're a competitive angler, and that's a pretty cool deal.
Yes, sir. I love the bass fish, love the tournament fish. Growing up, I wore artificial legs, and I played soccer in junior high, and I played basketball in junior high, but I wasn't very competitive. But I learned somewhere around high school that I could, compete bass fishing and fuel that competitiveness a little bit of myself in a way that, I felt like I was pretty much on the same level as everybody else for the most part. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifices, to be going to these tournaments and missing time at home. And when my buddies were out partying, I was asleep so I could wake up early to go fish. And I wouldn't have it any other way, though. But I fished the Arkansas River here in central Arkansas, as well as everything else in and around Arkansas. But I really like the river. That's probably my favorite place. I love fishing current, love dirty water, and just love power fishing.
That's interesting. You talk to many, many fishermen, as I do, and you do as well, I'm sure. But it's funny how many of us choke up to that dirty water affectionately, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, it's a crazy, crazy place. When you can find dirty water, you can find a lot of big fish, really big fish.
Around here right now, everywhere is dirty. We've had so much rain.
Everything's dirty.
Everything's high and dirty right now.
How are you taking your fish right now? What are we doing down there in Arkansas to take some of these big fish?
So right now, the majority is post-spawn. We've still got a few spawners, but everything's post-spawn. Starting to get a pretty good shad spawn bite in there, swim jig, top water, as well as just kind of starting to slowly move into their summer patterns. Catching them flipping, catching them throwing a frog and a buzzbait, stuff like that.
We got Grim Reaper as a sponsor on our show, and they make an enormous line of spinnerbaits and bucktails, and they make a whole suited set for bass fishing. Willow leaves, Colorado leaf. I mean, they've got them all. So that being said, when's your spinnerbait bite start to happen down there? You guys got to be into that by now, eh?
Yeah, that bite's kind of, it goes along with the shad spawn a little bit, but for us, a spinnerbait and even a chatterbait bite, that's usually pre-spawn, and it kind of goes away till, fall, then it'll get real good again.
Really?
But yeah, by this point, it's more of a top water thing and a flipping or a jig or, a crankbait bite by now, for the most part.
Is that a preference thing, or is it based on the fish's location? And I'll explain that question in a second.
So it's probably a preference thing. I mean, I've done well on chatterbaits and spinnerbaits, but it's usually not my go-to bait. But it seems like they really eat it good pre-spawn, and then they just kind of get off of it, especially after shad spawn's over. It seems like you don't catch just a whole lot on it.
Well, you guys down there, I don't know if you have the type of vegetation we have up here, but our fish pull out after like you say, after the spawn, they go post and they pull out and they lock into that 8-10 foot of water. And some of these guys that are running spinner baits are killing it. And I know myself, particularly in the past, I've won tournaments. I've won bass tournaments by slow rolling 3/4 ounce and 1 ounce spinner baits with single Colorados on them because they thump so loud, and you can just bang the timber. And in that particular case, I won that tournament. It was banging timber, but you can really probe these fish out of the weed beds. What's the kind of do you have vegetation down there to speak of, or are we looking at something different?
Gosh, Arkansas is has such a variety, and I think if you look back at the pros that have come from Arkansas, such as Larry Nixon, George Cochran, just so many, Mark Rose, they're just on and on. We have to be pretty diverse here to be able to catch them. We've got some Ozark type lakes like Greer's Ferry, Bull Shoals, a little bit of Table Rocks in Arkansas. Of course, that's clear, bluffy type lakes, and Central Arkansas, we've got the Arkansas River, Lake Dardanelle, which you're getting into dirtier water with just waterwilla and wood. And then as you get into South Arkansas, you've got Washita River backwaters and Lake Millwood that's right out of Texarkana. And it's, they look like Toledo Bend. I mean, they're just full of cypress and little cypress lakes all over a flooded lake. I mean, you've got just a little bit of everything. Then you don't forget the Hot Springs area. I'm sure you've seen the FLW Cup's been a Hot Springs several times the last few years, like Hamilton, Lake Washita.
Yep.
Hamilton's kind of a lake in its own. It's, it's not extremely clear. It's full of docks. Then Washita is very clear, and it's got hydrilla, and it doesn't hardly have any docks, and it's a more remote lake. I mean, it's just, we have such a diversity of lakes in Arkansas for sure.
Well, I'd be honest with you. I grew up in just outside of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, in Sheridan, Arkansas, and I spent spent a lot of my younger days down there. Now, we were way too young to go fishing. Our fishing consisted of walking to the creek and fishing brim, trying to not to get bit by a water moccasin. But but the truth of the matter is there's there's some great fishing down there on those systems. I had a chance to fish with Mr. Hoover down there from Ranger Boats on one of those systems, and it was gin clear. I think it was Table Rock that we were on, but it was crazy clear. So, but let's talk a little bit about your favorite techniques. I know flipping plastics, throwing jigs, those are big for you. And crankbaits, you go to the square bill crankbait, correct?
Yes, sir. Quite a bit. Even on waters that you wouldn't think, necessarily are crankbait type waters, because a lot of people, think more rocky, hard bottom stuff. But some of these lakes that, are like a lowland lake that's got a bunch of cypress trees and stuff, it moves any current at all, and you can find the little breaks where there might be a little shell. I love throwing square bills on that type of stuff.
I know Ricky Clunn, there's a number of anglers over the years that have picked up on that type of bill on their lures. And I throw a lure a lot. It's called a Timber Tiger, and it doesn't have an absolute square bill, but it does have that type of contour to the front of it. And man, can we bang timber with that thing? Oh my goodness. Oh, it's
yes,
amazing.
Sir.
It's amazing. It really is. Single pick, single lure. What's your favorite lure? Go to the water, catch fish, win the tournament. What's your single lure? I know I hate that question myself, but what is it?
If I had to pick one, it would be a 5/16 jig, finesse jig. And I worked with a local company here, Jig Suey Jigs, and we developed a signature series actually for that jig for a 5/16 and 7/16.
Cool.
Got a special little head or a special hook in it that's a little bit beefed up. But that jig, especially in a green pumpkin type color or, watermelon, something like that, that's pretty natural. You can do so much with it. You can swim it and look like a brim. You can, drag it, obviously like a crawdad or something. But there's so many different ways you can fish that bait. I've always got one tied on, no matter what else is tied on. I've got one rod specifically for a 5/16 round head finesse jig, and it's always in the boat ready to go, and it's kind of my confidence thing. If I can't get bit, I can pick that jig up and feel like I can generate some bites usually.
Absolutely. Generate bite, confidence are big factors. Here's another thing, too, to touch on. When you're jig fishing like that, sometimes you're getting below the natural influence of the atmosphere. So if you have a little cold front that comes in on top of you, it takes the bite out of the surface of the lake, those fish start to drop down, your jig presentation becomes very valuable and productive. So,
and with that lighter jig, on deeper water, you can let it put I put a speed crawl on there.
Yep.
With some kind of paddle tail bait, and you can, that lighter jig, if they're not very active in it, you flip up there against a tree or a bluff wall, it just kind of paddles its way down. It doesn't go crashing to the bottom. It's a very finesse way to go about it.
Now you're talking smallmouth.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, indeed. We've got some good smallmouth up here. People listening out there, some of these techniques and tactics that you hear us talk about on the show, even though we're talking to an angler that might be in Arkansas or Tennessee or Florida, whatever, folks, you can take this information to your favorite lake. Figure out what your lake is doing, figure out what you need in terms of a presentation, and basically do what Hunter does. Feel your way through the system and catch those fish. Hunter, I got to be honest with you. Like I said early on in this show, when we brought you on, when Casey came to me and she said, "Would you like to have this gentleman on the show?" I did backflips because, again, my hat's off to you. It really is. I crawl in my boat and I've got all my faculties, although I'm getting old and those faculties aren't working real well anymore. But I have them all. So, it's a different world. It is. And I am so proud of people like you that have taken the time to get out there and stay in the game. Like I said early on, 2 anglers that I met at the Tournament of Champions or the championship for the Minnesota Bass Federation were both amputees, and I stood there in awe and watched these guys go down to their boat, get in their boat, get positioned, and not ever once did I hear them say that they were handicapped in any way. They were there to compete, and buddy, you better have your game on because they were going to show you they can compete. So I'm just totally amazed. I really am.
Thank you very much.
No, I can't tell you how much. I'd love to meet you in person someday. I really would. And maybe down the line that's going to happen. But, oh, goodness gracious, my hat's off to you. God bless you, sir. You get on the water.
Thank you.
Yeah, you get on the water. You catch us some fish, get us some pictures, and let's get you back on the future show. Sound good?
Hey, that sounds good, and just throw it out there for everybody. I will be fishing the National Professional Fishing League next year. It's a new league coming up. I've got a Facebook page and an Instagram page. Love to have you follow along as I begin my journey as a professional fisherman. It's kind of a lifelong goal, and I have qualified to fish next year, so I'm ready. I'm excited.
I saw that when I've got that picture up right now, so the viewers and listeners out there can see it, and your information is there on your title page. Your information is there so people can get a hold of you. Networking is a big part of professional fishing. People don't necessarily understand this, but you could be Kevin Van Dam. I don't care. You still communicate with other anglers. You still network, and you take that information with you when you go to these systems. And God, if there's anybody out there that can help this man out, network with him. I mean, give him a call. Get a hold of him. Your Facebook information is there. It's all there. Your Instagram information is there. Get a hold of this guy and help him out because he certainly has strength well beyond the rest of us. Again, Hunter, I want to say thanks for coming on the show. And man, oh man, let's talk down the line.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
All righty, Hunter. Our pleasure. We'll be right back, folks.
Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. Bob Mehsikomer here. Hey, got a question. What's the hottest thing in your boat during prime muskie conditions? If you're like me, it's Grant Big Dog Rods. Talk to the big dog himself. Call him at 847-577-0848. Don't let your lack of success be the death of your fishing. Check out Grim Reaper Lures, spinnerbaits, and bucktails. Call them at 610-593-2492 or look them up on the internet at grimreaperlures.com. All right, so you stayed with us this long. You're going to learn a little bit more about the sport of fishing, the players in it, what they're doing, and how they're doing it. Let's dial up our third caller of the night, and he should be on with us in a second. Phone's ringing right now. This gentleman is, quite frankly, a family man, and that's important in today's world. I'll tell you, just by looking at his pictures, he's well involved in it. So let's let the phone ring for a second. And
Hello.
We got Ryan Carter?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Ryan. Bob Mehsikomer at 5 Live. How are you doing?
Doing great, Bob.
Oh, man,
Doing
it's
great.
nice to see you. I was just commenting while we were coming out of the commercial break and dialing your phone how much I see in your pictures how much of a family man you are.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty amazing. In today's world, there's one thing that we need to do, and it can't be lip service. There's one thing we need to do, and that's called get the families out, get the kids involved in the game. And
Absolutely.
I see that in your pictures. Tell us a little bit about you, and let's talk fishing.
I grew born and raised down here in South Florida. That's what they call a Florida cracker. Anybody ever heard of one of those? It's not a slang or a derogatory term in any way. It's just what we're called. We're natives, and so grew up here fishing and hunting with my father. Every opportunity we could possibly have or take, we were on the water. If it, it meant me and my brother and my dad pooling our money together to put gas in the boat, that's what we did. And so we were on the water or we were in the woods. And that's where I enjoy spending most of my time, my free time.
Well, most of us make that time free whether we like it or not.
Yeah, well, that's true.
If it's fishing, you got to go. There's no ifs and buts about it. You have a variety of species. I have a picture of a really nice snook up right now that you caught. Like I said, we're going to talk variety here because you've got a lot. And Florida gives you that opportunity. When I was looking at your pictures, one of the things I thought was most interesting was, although I'm a bass fisherman at heart, I like bass fishing. Everything you've got is salt orientated. So
Yes.
You're playing the coast, which is a cool deal.
I am. Yes, sir. I grew up doing a lot of bass fishing, and I will take the kids out from time to time to some lakes or some ponds and mess around a little bit. But to me, there's just nothing like being on the open ocean or in the intercoastal first thing in the morning. There's just nothing like it. And then, and I have the opportunity, like you said, here in Southwest Florida, which is one of the fishing capitals of the world, South Florida, to have so many different variety of fish to pursue. And so, if the tide's not right, or if the wind's blowing a certain direction, or depending on the water temperature, I can change gears quite quick and be able to adapt and make a move and target a different species, and still make a day of it.
So you have, in your images that you sent us, you have species that include snook, tarpon, permit, and then you have probably one of the biggest Goliaths that'll bite a hook, and that's the big Jewfish.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The infamous Goliath grouper now.
Yes.
Yes, yes. And so, and that's really a fraction of what we do down here. So there's a ton of really good bottom fishing, American red snapper, if you can go far enough out, grouper, red grouper, black grouper, gag grouper, scamp grouper, if you want to go snowy. If you want to go deep water, you can really get into some queens. You get the mangrove. And so one of my favorite things to do is not only catch fish, but is to also cook fish for the family. And there's nothing like fresh fish. Nothing like. And I'm talking fresh fish. Pull it out of the ocean, fillet it, rinse it in the salt water, and put it in a cast iron skillet fresh.
Yeah, no, you're talking to somebody that is really not a fish eater. Don't take that wrong. But
No, that's quite okay.
No,
you're talking more for me.
Right. You're talking to somebody who spent, been almost 40 years traveling throughout the North Country, where shore lunch is a big part of the day. And the guides are specifically there to make sure that those fish and those meals are prepared, so they're unforgettable. They really are.
Yeah, they really are.
When you do take fish directly out of a system, like you say, from water to skillet, it's way different than taking them from a store. It's just hugely different.
I will say this about that. unless I know the restaurant and it's on the water, I will not buy fish or eat fish at a restaurant or buy from the store.
Wow.
I'm a bit spoiled.
Yeah. No.
And when I say that, don't take it the wrong way. Like, I don't have to keep fish or bring fish home to have a good day. I have no problem with catch and release. I will catch 10, 15 pound bonita, which are worthless to eat, all day long and have a blast.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I had the opportunity. I was fishing for Roy Zancudo's lodge out of Costa Rica, and we went down there to do a number of things, sailfish, some big tuna. Actually, our focus was sailfish, and we got down there, and Roy says to me, he says, would you mind going out and fishing and seeing if you can get some big tuna? We'd like to get some tuna footage. And so I said, okay, that's fine. I said, let's get object one first done. Let's get our sailfish done. And when we're done with what we came for, then we'll go spend the time. So we're out there, and we popped a 250, and one of our other camera boats, our B-roll boat, got a 195. And we're a no harvest situation when we're shooting shows. I mean, we just don't do it. But the boat captain in the B-roll boat, that fish was coming in, and I had no idea the value of it to start with. But that being said, that night we came in, and we're sitting there, and Roy says to me, he says, how do you like your tuna? And I says, what? He says, how do you like your tuna? I says, Roy, you're not going to feed me tuna. I hate tuna. There's no way you're going to feed me tuna. It's never going to happen on God's green earth. Oh, well, what would you prefer? And I said, well, what do we got? He says, how about a big juicy steak? I said, well, that works for me. So I had a crews all sitting there and everything, and we're shooting B-roll around the camp and what have you. He came back, and he says, hey, your steak's almost done. Okay, great. So he pulls out this big cut of meat, blessed with vegetables around it and everything. And he says, there you go. I says, great, nice, good steak. I cut into that thing. I started eating. I went, wow, this is the best beef I've ever had in my life. He looked over at me and he says, welcome to tuna.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
We came back from that trip, though, and I went to Byerly's and I priced out fresh tuna, or as fresh as you can get, right? $35 a pound. No, we're not.
Yeah.
We're not doing this stuff. It's not happening.
No, it is not. No. Yeah, and it's and every fish has its own distinct flavor and or texture. In fact, I'm not sure if you're not a big fisher. You may have never eaten grouper cheeks.
No.
The actual cheeks of the grouper, to me, are far better than the fillets. It's almost a texture like a crab meat.
Really?
And oh my goodness, it's so sweet and tender, and it's a grainier, more like I said, like a crab claw, grainy meat. And it's absolutely my favorite part. I'll cut the grouper cheeks out, feed my family the fillets, and eat the cheeks myself.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good. And in fact, there are places down here, certain times of the year where you can go in and actually just buy grouper cheeks if you find the right seafood restaurant.
Seriously?
Yep.
I was not aware of that. Seasons. Let's talk seasons quickly.
Sure.
Let's say January through March. What's our target fish?
Well, I don't do a lot of fishing January through March.
Really?
I don't. I spend a lot of time in the woods.
Okay.
So, I fish a little bit January through March. And really, you can fish. Sometimes the wintertime fishing down here is phenomenal. So when I do fish early season like that, what I like to do is, if I'm snook or red fishing, is I will pick a really, really cold day. Like for us, I mean, really, really cold day is we wake up and it's 35 degrees. That's a really cold day.
Yes.
And then so you get out and you find these deeper pockets, and all of the fish have gathered into these deeper pockets because the deeper water will hold its warmth a little longer.
Yep.
And snook primarily, they don't care for the warm water or the cold water. It will kill them, as a matter of fact. So you find these deeper pockets, and it can be like shooting fish in a barrel. And so that's absolutely a blast when everything that hits the water is just one after another. At the same time, the offshore fishing can be phenomenal. It's hard to find good weather to do it. I only have a little 22-foot bay boat, and the Gulf of Mexico is a very shallow place to fish. So, for me to get into any kind of depth, I'm 30 plus miles offshore, single engine.
Okay.
And then we're talking 30 miles offshore. I'm in 70 foot of water, 75. So it's not like the Atlantic where just a few miles off the coast you hit the top, you hit the shelf, and you're in 600-800 feet of water.
Right.
So, the fishing can be very good. The king fishing gets really good early in the season. About April, March, the cobia start running, coming out of the lower Gulf, moving up the coast. Also, the permit start to do so as well. Pound for pound, I believe permit to be one of the strongest fish in the ocean.
Oh, right. Yeah, they're like pulling in plywood.
Exactly, and their first couple of runs are, second to none. I mean, they're amazing. Problem with a lot of the areas that I fish for permit, they tend to like a structure. And typically when you're talking schools of a couple of thousand permit, there's usually a few big tax collectors following them around.
You like the barracuda, huh?
Well, problem is they're 800-900 pound bull sharks.
Oh, those.
the big tax collectors, yeah. And they'll take a 40-pound permit and half your leader. Unfortunately,
we had one of your big Jewfish take a permit.
Yes, they will do that too.
Oh yeah. You're pulling up a permit. I'm gonna say size, just guessing, because there's no way you'd know how big it was. I'm gonna say 20 pounds maybe. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this thing come out of nowhere and just ate it. The guy with me just took out a fillet knife and cut the line. I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "What were you think you're gonna do?"
Exactly. I have one short story about a Goliath. I took my brother-in-law, and he's a huge fisherman. He loves to go out, and most of his fishing was trolling, down in the Keys or East Coast trolling. And we went out over here, and we were fishing some of the Air Force relay towers out in the Gulf, and we caught a couple of permit and some cobia and had some big mangs. So we had some meat, and we broke off. I don't know. We went through a box of probably 50 hooks, a lot of which were Goliaths. And we tried and tried and tried. 2 rods, 1 hook, 3 leaders, you just couldn't get them off the bottom. Yeah. So on the way back in, we stopped at a spot, and I rig him up a rod with about a 1 pound, 2 pound blue runner on and drop it down. And sure enough, boom, he gets taken. And he starts cranking this Goliath up, and he's just forcing it up, trying to get it up off the bottom. And he's making ground. And it almost looks like, it was pretty clear, 30 foot of water. It almost seemed like the Goliath had mucked up the bottom, because there was this big, dark, just blurry spot behind it.
Yep.
And right at the surface, the Goliath that he was fighting, which was every bit of 3 feet long, 3.5 feet long, 40 pounds, 45 pounds,
yep,
got eaten by a much, much, much larger Goliath.
Can you say prey-predator relationships?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Eat or be eaten.
In Florida, a lot of people use live bait, artificial baits. They use them both. There's bays, there's rivers, there's intercoastal waterways. Offshore, you got all kinds of reefs, all kinds of bottom contours to fish. So I would think that if people were to come down there, they can have just about anything they're looking for. What can you lend in terms of something that people can come down and boom, go to it? Just go do it.
From shore?
Let's say from shore. Yeah, why not?
Okay. So summertime's a great time, especially as we start moving into the hotter months. The snook are migrating out of the rivers and estuaries in the backcountries to the beaches to spawn.
Oh.
And on the way out, they are eating very well because they're going to spawn. So some of the pier fishing and the beach fishing can be absolutely phenomenal. First thing in the morning, last thing in the evening, with plugs or with live bait. My recommendation is always to kind of see what's out there and mimic it. I mean, if they're feeding on mullet, then something greenback with a silver side.
Yeah.
Or catch the mullet. Snook, redfish, trout, really, to be honest with you, pretty much everything that lives down here, with the exception of a few fish like a permit, are scavengers. They will eat it cut bait just as well as they'll eat a live bait. sometimes at least cut bait over a live bait. Why, I don't know. So that works very well as well, especially for snook or for redfish, even for big gator trout. So summertime's a great time to pick up a rod, go to the beach, the piers. East Coast, they have the inlets. Some of the best shore fishing you will do is off of some of the inlets. I've got a good buddy who fishes only nighttime and bridge fishes over here, only artificial.
Sure.
And he catches more big snook than anybody I know.
And they pull hard. They really do.
A snook is like an overgrown largemouth bass.
Yeah.
You know, they hit hard, and their
And
first
they
couple
jump.
of runs are they jump, they run for cover, they've got gill plates, you know, they've got 80 grit sandpaper for teeth. You know, a big snook, especially if they're pulling hard with, say, 40, 50-pound braid, you know, if you're not running 60-pound mono leader fluorocarbon, they'll wear through it after a couple of runs.
Yeah, you're out of luck.
I've even had them roll over on 70-pound leader and cut it with their horn or the gill plate. So they are a lot of fun to target, but you know, it really depends on the time of the year. You can come down here at any time and have a good time in the water, so long as the weather's good.
Let's sum it up and focus on the tarpon. What's the best time to come down? And I realize they migrate, so we know they migrate up and down. So right now, huh? So
right now.
in our spring up here, in other words, April, May, maybe March, April, May, or just April, May?
April, May. I mean,
April,
really
May.
The first, let's see, April, May, you know, give or take a month either side. I mean, there's tarpon here year-round.
Year-round, yeah.
Year-round. But right now they're really moving up the coast in big schools. And, you know, especially if you want to fish out on the beaches, just off the beaches, anywhere from 10 to 15, 20 feet of water. The passes, Boca Grande, Redfish, Captiva, they'll all be full of tarpon. Even later in the summer, these big tarpon will move up into the rivers. And in fact, the picture of the one that I sent you was caught way up Caloosahatchee River, way up in brackish water.
That's a nice fish, too.
Yeah, that fish pretty much ended my desire to catch a big tarpon.
Yeah, you broke your back.
Yeah, I caught that fish. I wasn't quite fishing for a tarpon, but when it's on the line, you just do what you have to do.
You gotta fight. You gotta fight the fight you come to. Yeah.
Exactly. Three and a half hours on a little 4,000 with 30-pound mono leader.
Wow.
And I caught her. You got a couple of pictures and sent her on the way. And nowadays, when I hook into a tarpon of any caliber on a small outfit like that, I break them off.
Yes,
and let them go on their way.
Hey, Ryan, it's been a pleasure to have you on. It's fun to always chat about fishing that we don't do every day. Listeners and viewers from around the country. Well, we have viewers all over the UK, all over Canada. A lot of these people want to reach out. They want to stretch their wings a little bit and have some fun. So I appreciate you sharing with us. I again, as I tell every guest I've ever had on the show, man, let's stay in touch. Let's keep talking.
Absolutely.
Down the line. We'll share some more information. We'll get more into the nitty gritty, if you will, as we get to know people and share some of that stuff. But man, oh man, thanks for coming on the show. I truly appreciate it. It's been our pleasure.
You got it, Bob. Anytime anybody wants to talk fishing or hunting with me, just give me a call. I've got stories.
I have got your information up in terms of your Instagram right now, so people can see that and they can reach out to you on Instagram. I beg of them to do it. I
thought I noticed. It should be Ryan K. Carter. I wasn't sure. I think you had it Ryan Carter on there. There should be a K between them. I'm not sure if I maybe auto typed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. It is. I'm looking at a monitor that doesn't give me that freedom to see that right now, but I'm pretty sure it is. And if not, then we will make sure that we make that noted. But I do have Ryan K. Carter 11. That's your Instagram. Yep. So we got you.
Yeah, feel free to reach out. I'm an open book. I love to talk fishing, hunting, and anything in between.
I super appreciate it. These big fish that you catch down there, that's what everybody dreams of. They all want to go. They all want to go. And and just changing it up a little bit. You're a walleye fisherman, a smallmouth fisherman, a muskie fisherman, and all of a sudden somebody says, "Hey, I got the hair up my spine. Let's go down to Florida and do some fishing." You know that there's some really good fish there. Ryan, thanks for coming on the show. God bless you. We'll see you down the road.
Thanks, Bob. Have a good one.
All righty. Hey, everybody out there watching, again, I want to put the plea out there. Please share our show. Put it on your page. Put it on your group page. Help us put this thing into more and more people's computers, handheld devices, living rooms, however you're doing it. And we're going to be doing some stuff going forward here. We've been talking about it internally, which I think will be kind of fun, the how-to stuff. So with that being said, as I get out of here tonight, again, God bless everybody. I wish that everybody has great luck on the season opener for muskies here this week. I know we're going out. We're going to try it. Before I go anywhere, folks, here. Remember that fish I showed you in the beginning was caught on a waker? Well, that was a 56-inch fish, a very, very beautiful fish. Well, this is what we're going to be taking to the water now. This is the Majorca. This thing is going to be in the water with us this weekend. This is a baby loon, and if you know anything about what's going on in this environment right now, baby loons are their food. So with that being said, this one happens to be going out to Mike Pesci. I promised him I would ship it to him, but I needed it for the show tonight because that's a rare item right there. Hey, everybody, God bless. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Hi everyone, Bob Mehsikomer here. Don't let your lack of success be the death of your fishing. Check out Grim Reaper Lures, spinnerbaits, and bucktails. Call them at 610-593-2492 or look them up on the internet at grimreaperlures.com. Hi everyone, Bob Mehsikomer here. Hey, I got a question. What's the hottest thing in your boat during prime muskie conditions? If you're like me, it's Grant Big Dog Rods. Talk to the big dog himself. Call him at 847-577-0848.